say f of x is equal to x squared. This is the graph that we had. Now I can come and check what is going to be this point here whereby this graph is turning. Okay. And according to this thing here, what is going to be the turning point? Where does the graph turn? It tells it here. So what are going to be the coordinates where our graph is turning? So we have the following coordinates, says which we have 0 is to 1 is to 0. Now, the other thing that we're interested in finding out is the following. What is going to be the equation of the x of symmetry? Now, x of symmetry is the mirror. So we need to have an equal part. So our graph, if it were to be divided into 2 equal parts, what is going to be the equation that divides our graph into 2 equal parts? Now, it's this line, which is the y-axis. Now, what is the equation of this line here? X is equal to 0. So we'll come and say which the axis of symmetry here is going to say x is going to be equal to what? To 0. Okay, sure. So we know what is the turning point of the basic graph. And then we also know what is the axis of symmetry. Okay? Okay, number 2, what else should we know? Now, we also did an investigation like this one in grade 10, whereby we're shifting the value of Q. Now we could shift the value of Q up and downwards. Okay? Now let's check what happens if we shift the graph upwards and downwards. What happens to the turning point? What is going to happen to our turning point? So if you take the following graph, and then let's just, what happens to the graph is that the y value of the turning point changes, but the x value of the turning point doesn't change. Now, the next thing that you want us to talk about is that, okay, we are done shifting the graph up and down. So if we shift the graph up and down, so look at what we did there. So we had a graph like this. So we started with y is equal to x squared. Okay? Now, when we have y is equal to x squared, you can shift this graph upwards. If you shift it upwards, then you add q. Or you can subtract q. You don't only have to add q. Okay? Now, whatever value that you add is going to be the turning point. Now, because here, if you look at this graph here, you had y is equal to x squared. Okay? Because you had x squared here, it means you also had a q. What was your q value if they didn't write anything here? If I don't write anything here in maths, what does it mean here? There's a 0 again. Hence, you had your y turning point as what? As 0. But as soon as I say to here, I say I have y, which is equal to x squared plus 1. You see what happens? But what is going to be the turning point? Yeah, you expect the turning point of the x to be 0, but the y value expected to be what? To be 1. Okay, we are done with the q, because the q is not the first time we do it. We did it even last year. Now let's look at what happens if we then shift the x part. Now we're going to introduce a new parameter. The new parameter that we want to introduce, it says which we have. The orange one, yeah. They will come and put a point here on the orange one. So this is where the graph is turning. It's point D. What is happening when it turns? What are the coordinates of the turning point? -1. -1 and what then? Okay, we'll come and put it this side then. Then the turning point we have -1 and what and C. And what is going to be the axis of symmetry? Let's come and check it. What do you think is going to be the On this one here, what do you expect to be the turning point based on what you've just learned, man? So you expect to have, let's start with the x. X is what? X is going to be -2. What is going to be your? It's going to be what? To be 8. And then what is going to be the equation of the axis of symmetry? Is -2. Okay, it seems as if we get what is going on now. So how do you get the turning point? Yes. This negative here, it speaks about 8, tells us whether the graph is going to smile or it's going to be sad. Let's come and check what Mabena is talking about. So Mabena is asking what happens if they put a negative here? Because we shouldn't take it for granted. Okay, let's put a negative. So if you put a negative, what do we have inside here? We have +2 or -2. +2. And then we have what? +8. Okay, what happens to our new graph? You see which the graph it's doing what here. So the value of 8 tells you whether the graph is smiling or what or sad. Doesn't affect the turning point. The turning point, you see, our turning point hasn't changed. I think we still have 8, yeah? And then we have 8 and what? And -2, as we said. We're still fine. Lina, are you still good? Okay, now we know how to get the turning point.